Okay to go.
Okay, thank you. So, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining this meeting of the joint committee. As this one is our first meeting for the municipal year 2021, I will ask members to nominate a chair and for this municipal year, please. So if we can have movement and names.
Can I move Councillor Ryan in chair?
And I'll second that. And I'll propose myself as vice chair just to help things.
I'll second that.
Okay, so just to make sure, so Councillor Ryan from Tameside as a chair, and Councillor McGee as a vice chair. So, and all assignment. Thank you. So I will now to you, Councillor Ryan, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fabiola. I think before I kick off, I just want to say that we'll run this as usual. I know it's a Zoom meeting, which is a little bit extraordinary, I suppose, for us, where we usually meet in person, but you probably got used to this by now. If people want to speak, if you could press the hand up button or raise your hand on the participants list so that I've got your name on there if you want to come back at any points. We'll go through the agenda, which you all should have the papers for. And I suppose as a starter for 10, I'd like to thank the outgoing chair for last municipal year, Councillor Ali from Rochdale, for his fantastic term as chair and the building of stars we've seen across the last year, and to Lorraine and the whole team for the work that they've put in over the past year, and especially through this really difficult time during COVID, to manage to keep the organisation functioning really well. See some of that, I suppose, as we consider some of these papers through. So thank you both for your time over this year, and I hope that I can you know, fill those shoes as we move forward with Councillor McGee from Stockport. So thank you very much. Okay, so in terms of attendance, Fabiola, are we quorate and okay for attendance? Right, agenda item 1.
Yes, we are, Chair.
Thank you. The minutes, item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. Have people had the chance to look at those? Move to agree, okay.
Yeah.
Everybody else happy with that? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Any declarations of interest? No, I'm seeing shaking heads. Nobody come through. If you let us know in the usual way, if you have to after this, let us know as well. Item 4. So the Q2 progress report. Who's taking us through that?
Yeah, this is one of the items carried forwards from the December meeting, so we just need to have a motion to move this as approved, please.
Righto, are we okay to move that? Happy to move that?
Yeah, agreed.
Thank you, everyone. COVID update, agenda item 5.
That's myself, Chair Lorraine.
Thank you, Lorraine. If you want to take us through, thanks.
I will, just bear with me, just get my camera on.
As I say, any questions or anything through, if you could just raise your hand on the participants list and I'll keep an eye on it so we can keep a little list.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you on the screen this afternoon. And just to take you very quickly through the COVID paper, what we felt was helpful for Joint Committee this afternoon was to bring you up to date, really, of activity in a summarised form of what we've been doing on your behalf over the last 3 months. I won't go into great detail because you've read the paper, you've been with us along the journey of the last 3 months through the crisis. So I'll just take you to sort of highlights and really how we've approached this, and more importantly, how we're actually going to move forwards as we hopefully come out of lockdown and move into recovery. I'll just glance at my notes if I may. Basically, where our advice and guidance comes from, as always, tends to be government-led, central government, and we get things called PPNs, which are procurement policy notices. Some of you will be very familiar with these terms, but basically what the government do through the LGA particularly, and Cabinet offices, they issue notices which are quite formal, quite long, and what we've done is interpreted those, obviously made them starised in order that they're fit for purpose for your individual 4 councils. So we've acted as a conduit really, particularly in the first few weeks, to make sure that we rapidly mobilised new ways of working. We've set up emergency procedures because it's important that we act quickly, and we use things like Regulation 32 within the regs to mobilise procurement that needs to be done immediately to help us deal with the crisis. I would say on the whole that's happened very smoothly, and we feel that we've moved quite quickly after a number of weeks into a settlement period, and we had very little activity through the emergency procedures, which was really good, and we've continued to maintain business as usual as we've moved forwards. Some of the highlights really, we've been contacted nationally in particular from organisations like Transport for London and the Alzheimer's Society, who've picked up through various means about what STAR does in terms of its shared service expertise, but also looking at local spend, successes, social value successes. So on the side, I suppose, we've been offering advice and guidance to other organisations, which has been really good to get STAR out there and into the spotlight. I think the final thing to add to this, Chair, is we've produced something called a 10-point plan, which I know you've all had a copy of. It's gone into every form of social media that we can find. And what we're currently doing is we're building activities against those 10 points in order that over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, we will start to drip feed updates. So both yourselves as joint committee members and board members and key officers within your councils know what progress we're making. And what we're trying to do is target local spend, SMEs, BCSEs, BAME organisations to try and look at how we help the business communities and obviously the economy as we move out of lockdown and help to mobilise people back into some shape of normality. We understand the pressure, we understand what you need from us in terms of councils and your corporate priorities, and I'm sure they will change as we go forwards, but I'm happy to take any questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. It's quite a substantial report. I think we've looked at the immediate things that you did at the time and had a look at different processes from ways that we adapted to this COVID situation. But again, if I could just reiterate my thanks really, and I'm sure the thanks to the whole committee in continuation of the work that you've done to make sure that we've been able to keep on track and achieve things that we have achieved. And I've noticed in there on the final section in point 4, James Hunter has won a Trafford Council Epic Award. So really to say congratulations to him as well for his leadership of PPE procurement. And I feel like, although we say procurement is not sometimes the most interesting thing for a lot of people, actually, it's some of the most important conversations that you can have in terms of crisis management to make sure how you get things and how you can continue to move on. So thank you very much. Any questions or comments from anyone? If you could, okay, I've got Councillor Ross, Tom Ross.
Right, thank you very much, Chair. Again, thank you so much to STAR for everything you've done in these very unprecedented, for want of a better word, times. I just wanted to check the welfare overall of the team, how they've been doing, because it's, you know, they were all presumably having to move out of the office sites and working from home. And in terms of the own recovery, how are they at the moment? Are they keen to get back into the office and get back round the table, as it were? What's happening now with the team there? Because I know it's been very difficult for a lot of people having to adapt to new working conditions, and from a kind of mental health perspective, well, it can be quite challenging too for people. So any update on that would be great. Thank you.
Through the Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Councillor Ross, thank you for the feedback and update from yourself. Firstly, we're very used to agile working. The privilege of working across 4 councils is we're used to having laptops and sitting where we need to sit and functioning. So I would say we're probably best placed to show how this can be done quickly. The team on the whole have been very buoyant and resilient during the time. We've only had one person with COVID symptoms who was actually quite poorly, but she's fine and back and working. I would say from a mental health point of view, I think we've had ups and downs right through the team, from me downwards in terms of, you know, childcare challenges, you know, trying to find a corner of a lounge to sit in for some people, which has been quite difficult. But on the whole, you know, the team are very resilient. We've got a lot of support from Trafford Council as our host employer in terms of referring 1 or 2 for some mental health guidance really, and different welfare issues. I think one colleague did a social distance walk 1-to-1 with one member of staff one day that we felt was quite isolated, living in a house on her own. So, you know, all in it together, and we've looked after each other. So I think we've got through it, and we're all fine. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
That's great. That's really good to hear. Any more questions or comments on Lorraine's update? Councillor McGee.
Thank you, Chair. And I too noticed the James from Trafford. As you say, not usually the sort of area that gets recognition, but I thought you were going to say a matter of life and death, because it literally, in some cases, it has been. But I was I was interested in the point Tom Ross made as well about welfare. But I just wanted to ask, the emergence. I guess there's 2 points. One is the emergency procurement need, because back then you can't go through the system the way it would normally be, because when you need to get something in place to stop things happening or going worse, then you need to do that. That's really good. But I was also interested in the development in the sort of charity, not-for-profit organisation. There must be a large market out there that's perhaps unexplored or untapped. I'm done.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Yeah, I caught the first question. I'll have to ask for feedback on the second, please, Councillor McGee. But to respond to the first question, we've obviously been at the forefront of PPE procurement for our 4 councils and indeed for Greater Manchester. And I will say that there's been a number of businesses, I can think of one in particular in Tameside actually, that has converted their whole business operation of normally doing workwear into doing aprons and those sorts of things. So I would say we've worked hard with businesses and we've tried to push that local spend agenda as best we can through the crisis, because you can imagine we've been inundated worldwide through every source. I think my LinkedIn has been pinging every 3 minutes with somebody offering me masks, legitimately or not. So we've obviously had to look at that from a safeguarding point of view financially to make sure we're not buying something that doesn't get delivered, because we've all heard those stories. I think in terms of the voluntary and community sector, we're very aware that there's a massive risk here for those sectors and indeed the small and medium enterprises who are struggling and who, if they haven't already popped, are very vulnerable. So for me, it's about how we use every rule that we can, certainly below the ODU threshold, to really, really work hard to target spend and really get that spend within Greater Manchester over the next few months. So I'm still ambitious that I want to hit those targets for you during this year and actually, move that local pound forwards even further, because it's always been our agenda and key priority, but even more so to actually help those communities to survive. I think the third point to make on that, Chair, if I may, is we've worked hard on looking at what other business entities need really over the next few months, and we've been working hard with the LGA as well, because they seem to use STAR quite often now as a bit of a voice box of people who know what to do and do it in a practical, sensible and quick way. So that's quite a privilege. But actually they've put us in touch with people like the Alzheimer's Society who are saying we actually need to be sharing services now. We actually need to function differently now, because actually we won't survive. And equally, how can a big voluntary organisation help smaller voluntary organisations, hence us engaging with one of the directors from that particular organisation. So we're pushing, I suppose, the expertise out there, but not taking our eye off the ball in terms of delivering for the STAR partners. Was there another part of the question, Councillor McGee?
No, you covered it. Thank you, Lorraine. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. Any more comments, questions from members for Lorraine? I can't see anything other than just to make a final comment. The 10-point plan that we put together and have publicised quite well, I would encourage people to have a look at that, and businesses particularly. I think we've done really well at trying to communicate that message of what we're doing during COVID to try and adapt and help where we can. And I think it's partly raised in a report, but actually that was a really good piece of work that I think we'd probably all praise as well. So thank you very much for that. Okay, so to move on then. Are you on our next report as well, Lorraine?
No, I think it moves to Nicola next.
Okay.
Nicola or Elizabeth will correct me. Let me just check my list here. Bear with me.
Quarter 3, quarter 4.
Yes, that's me, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Nicola. Hi.
Thank you, Nicola.
Hello, everyone. So yeah, I'm just going to go through the quarter 3 and quarter 4 performance measures. We're bringing them together in one report. Because clearly we had to cancel the March joint committee because for obvious reasons. So I'm just going to take you through that report, but I am going to, with the use of technology, share our new dashboard with you. So let me just see if that, can everyone see that on the screen now?
Yeah.
We can. I think if you just scroll down a touch, Nicola, so we can just see the bottom of it, but no, that's the magic of digital.
Yeah, the joys of technology working, marvellous. So we've got this Tableau dashboard that we now use for our performance management. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to show this to you today. So if we're just starting with the KPIs then on savings, we had a target of £5.2 million for the year. We have so far got just over 5 million ratified. There is another 1.9 million waiting to be ratified, but we've struggled to get that completed due to obviously resource pressures within the finance teams in all 4 partners. So we think that we will more than reach our target once those savings are ratified, and actually nearly £7 million worth of savings generated this financial year, which is a fantastic achievement. That therefore means that your return on investment, your annual investment, is 4.2 times. So that's showing that we're showing good value for money there. There's also some additional non-ratified savings, which is where we just show additional savings that can't be taken from budgets, but where procurement has added value to the process. So just moving on to income. We have a target of 150,000, and as you can see, we've more than nearly doubled the income for this year with 287k. Just further down, you've got the breakdown by quarters, and you can see that we brought in slightly less than what we thought we were going to in quarter 3, but that was for one piece of work that's been delayed by GMCA, but that now is being brought into this financial year anyway. So the income is still coming in, it's just been delayed. And then to just take you to the social value weighting, if I can just scroll across a bit. So this shows we've massively increased our social value, and by the end of quarter 4 we were reporting about 20% social value weighted on both above and below ODU thresholds. But you'll see from the report that obviously it shows, it's twirling. You can see the massive increase this year, and the final figure is the average over the year, but it just shows that in quarter 4 we were actually delivering more than what the target was. Further down as well, the contracts with social value. So this is where the number of contracts, or the percentage of contracts that have actually got social value KPIs in them. And again, that's massively increased, and we're well above target for that as well. And then just finally, we've had no legal challenges this year for we've not had one since STAR formed, so fingers crossed that will continue. So is there any questions on that before I stop sharing the screen?
Thank you, Nicola. I think that will probably bring a bit of a heart lift to all of our finance directors in a time of difficulty. That this has been a really positive time for STAR. I can't see the participant list, but if anybody has their hand up, if you could let us know. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Tom McGee, go ahead.
Thank you. And Nicola, perhaps you could send us this info, whatever it's called, information chart. It's really good, I thought. Yeah, easy to read. So I'm guessing that for a lot of our operations, life goes on. Therefore, we may be having to adjust certain contracts because of COVID, but for a lot of others, it's just keeping going, and that we need to then think about how we perhaps nudge things in the right direction over the next 12 months.
Yeah. So one of the things we have launched is the social value plugin, for example. So where organisations have promised us social value, and it might have been through like school visits, for example, which clearly they're going to struggle to deliver now. We're giving them the option to change their social value commitments, and also to anything they're doing specifically around COVID as well, that they could use that as part of their social value offer to us as well. So we are trying to be adaptable. We have implemented procedures to deal with like changing prices. So particularly at the beginning, we weren't sure about what the prices were going to be in the construction industry, for example, because we weren't sure about supply. So we put some flexibility into our procurements to allow that.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Nicola. Any more questions or comments? Tom Ross.
Yeah, that all looks really, really good, and it would be great to have it shared. Just going off an earlier conversation we've had about social media, I think some of those graphics are quite shareable via like Twitter and Facebook, and it might not be, it gets a massive audience of people out there who are keen on procurement, but it might hit the right people to kind of grow STAR further. So any way of putting those into infographics that we could all share, hopefully that would kind of attract more attention to Star as well. But thank you very much for that, and obviously keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I knew there was a word for it, infographics. Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you both, Toms. Any more questions or comments for Nicola?
Do you want me to just go through the rest of the report? Because there's just a couple.
Yes, you can. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So those were the KPIs. We do also report on performance measures, which are our procurement worth measures, which are those where we don't have targets, but we think it'd be helpful to report them. So they are all set out in the report, and I particularly just wanted to draw your attention to the social value ones. I've included Q3 and Q4, but obviously the Q4 ones are more relevant. So we've now had 62 tenders going through the social value portal. Over half now have been awarded to Greater Manchester suppliers. And we're also seeing a 25% return on the contract value with social value as well. So it's really showing the power of the social value portal and the work that we've been doing to really push social value with our, particularly our local supply chains. We're responding really well to that as well. The other things to draw your attention to is the number of SLAs. So we've fulfilled a lot of SLAs, which is where all that income has come from. And that includes GMCA, the Greater Manchester Health and Social Care Partnership, as well as now further afield, including a mortuary and pathology review for Sandwell and Birmingham councils, and a review of Basildon shared service as well. So we've been able to secure income and secure income from outside Greater Manchester as well, which is really positive. We've also continued with stakeholder training. So we've had 37 different events with over 500 employees. And just picking up on the staff welfare issues and things, we've continued with the staff training as well. And we've actually had over 550 hours of CPD for the STAR team over this last year. So that's really helping us to retain our position as the employer of choice as well, and to keep our staff retention up. We continue to look at social media as well. And so we have now been looking at updating our websites, and that will hopefully mean that the number of website views and then also the rest of our social media will start to pick up as we move forward.
Excellent. Really excellent. Thank you, Nicola. Any questions, comments for Nicola? No?
So, sorry,
Okay.
Ollie. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Tom.
So I think we've done this before from memory. The Q4 measures about the number of tenders and all that. We could use a press release with all the information in to suit our local needs if you could put that one together, because I'm sure that locally, once people understand what's happening with the process, they'll become more interested. So, Rochdale ourselves, as well as Trafford and Tameside, could all make use of that in slightly different ways, probably.
Absolutely agree. That'd be really helpful. And I think in the champions section, social media section, we can see there we're doing more to engage with people. I think that's a really good thing. I think there's a few points in there in the champions section, Nicola, including yourself, taking part in the Sector Solutions Expo. We are getting out there and spreading the message, and I feel like this is a really positive quarter, and hopefully we'll be able to see some more of that progress as we progress through the year. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
No more questions or comments for Nicola? No. Okay. I think if we can move on then to urgent business. I've not been told that we have any. If anyone can advise, I've not been alerted to any urgent business.
No,
No, Chair, no urgent business.
That's okay. Thank you very much. So the date and time of the next meeting will be there. It is in front of you, 16th September at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
This may be a virtual meeting. I think this has worked out well for people in terms of having a virtual setup. I don't know how people feel, but I feel like this is quite a good forum for us to look at, perhaps even into the future, post-COVID, as part of the whole digitisation of how we do business. If I can ask members to stay back, because there is a section that I just need to ask you about, whether we can move to exclusion of the press and public to deal with the last few items on this agenda. Are people comfortable with that? Can people take that motion?
Yeah, I'm happy to move that.
Happy to move that. Okay, and seconded by Councillor Ali. Thank you very much. Okay, so if we can end the recording there, that's great.